Hey guys, welcome to Start Off. This is Start Off. This is a podcast with Isaiah Hodge.
And Matt Hobbs.
Thank you. And, we're going to be your hosts for this. Basically, this is a podcast where I come up with a topic, Isaiah comes up with a topic, we figure out which topic we want to talk about, debate over it for a minute, and go from there. We have not been told each other's topics, which is like 90% of the intrigue. And if you guys think that one of us should have won or think that one of us should have talked about the other thing, then just tell us in either comments or whatever streaming service you're using to listen to this. Let us know. And we would love to hear from you guys. But Isaiah, how you doing, Dad?
Man, I am doing really good. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm nervous. We talked about this earlier, but I mean, it's one thing to just sit here and talk, but it's another just to like have people listen to you.
Yeah, I know, right?
And I think that, I mean, I've been on a podcast before, not to toot my own horn, but I've been on a podcast before, and I think that kind of warmed me up because it was a very chill atmosphere, which is what I'm trying to bring now. But this feels so industrial. We've got like good mics and all this good stuff. But yeah, man, what you been going on? Oh, Isaiah, you have a momentous news. So tell the good people.
So everyone, I recently got engaged.
Yay!
About almost 2 weeks ago now.
That's crazy. That was 2 weeks?
I think.
Wow.
It was December 10th, and this is... So actually, it's been like 8 days.
Okay.
But it feels like 2 weeks.
I mean, that's got to be so much preparation.
It was probably like the most stressful thing I've ever had to do in my life.
Well, so for context, guys, Isaiah's marrying my sister. This is not a joke. This is real. He's marrying my sister. They've been dating for a really long time. Isaiah is one of my best friends. It's a dream come true for me, and I'm sure obviously for him. So yeah, we're basically two soon-to-be brother-in-laws. Going to talk about whatever we want to talk about. But dude, I mean, I was there for it, and it was absolutely beautiful. You want to like talk about it for a minute?
Yeah. Since I just so what happened was I wanted to rent out a movie theater, the Bird Theater, and
beautiful theater.
Yes, it was beautiful, and so I wanted to rent out a theater, and I wanted my now fiance Emily to think that we were going to see something else, and so I asked her mom. I was like, "Hey, could you on Thanksgiving just asked the whole family, like, what could we do as a family together?" And she proposed that we all go to the movie theaters, but of course it was my idea.
Sure.
And so Emily thought we were going to see It's a Wonderful Life at the Bird Theater here in Richmond. But really, I made a video compilation of her and us, and
beautiful.
Oh my gosh,
it was absolutely. I was in tears. I was so close, like, to just sobbing. I mean, it was beautiful. And it was so well done.
Thank you.
I was so surprised how like it wasn't ruined.
Yeah.
It was so close to being ruined so many
almost
times.
was.
Yeah. You want to tell that story?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, like for the first, like, cause I mean, man, I was working on that for like 2 or 3 months trying to get it to work.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember you pulling me aside and you would just give me subtle things that you were thinking about doing.
Yeah.
And I would give you the yay or nay, like whether I thought it would be a good idea. And that went on for like a good solid couple months.
And dude, I went to... So for the video, I made the song for the video.
I know, which, I mean, wow, talent, but continue.
So I had to go... First, I had to find a song, then write lyrics for the song, then take it to the studio, then record the song, then I put the song on like Spotify and iTunes and Apple Music, and then I took that song and then made the compilation and then made it into a video, and oh my gosh, it took so much work.
I mean, but the thing is, it showed.
Yeah.
You could really tell the amount of heart that was put into it, and I mean, just absolutely beautiful. So yeah, that's Isaiah's news. I don't really have much news. I finished finals. I'm in college. We both are in college. To a couple of college guys. And yeah, I finished my finals, which was super exciting. I'm out until winter semester. I guess that's my news. But so, do you have a topic ready?
Yes, I
Okay.
do.
So, who do you think should go first?
How about you go first?
Okay. So, my topic has been, I've thought about this for a very long time. My topic is something that I feel like is pretty relatable. I feel like it's something that could be used to bring a good discussion, hopefully. Because,
Okay.
I mean, I think this brings up some pretty funny stories. So, my topic is, drumroll, bad teachers.
Bad teachers?
Bad teachers.
Oh.
I think that's pretty funny. I think that could bring up some pretty good things. I think that could bring some comedic stories.
Okay,
So,
okay.
Because I've got a couple stories of my own. So, so what's your topic?
I was just, I wanted it to be something that you and I knew for certain that you and I both could relate to.
Sure.
So I was going to talk about the new Spider-Man movie.
Oh, man. You are playing to my heart. Oh, man. Okay, so before we get into this, we're going to have to say this now. Solid spoilers for Spider-Man No Way Home. Anybody who's listening to this, please don't. Please don't.
I mean, like, you might decide
if you
to-
haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home yet, don't listen to this. Come back later. We don't want to ruin this for you. It's a beautiful film.
Well, I mean, that is if we, decide to talk about it.
Sure, which we're going to debate about now.
Okay. So I was going to ask you, how are we going to, decide which topic we pick? Just
Argue about it.
argue about it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so we're going to,
Oh, or Karis can pick.
Oh,
The
yeah,
producer can
yeah.
pick. Not a bad idea. What
All
do we
right.
think?
So,
We'll put it to a vote, the three of us. Who thinks that we should debate?
I think we should do, wait, debate or
Like debate as in like me and you debate against which topic to pick. This is live, everyone.
Oh, I was gonna. I feel like it'd be kind of cool to include Karis in it.
Yeah, let's make it happen. Okay, Karis, you are the deciding factor. You are the man of the people. What is your pick? So I picked, my topic is bad teachers. Isaiah's topic is Spider-Man No Way Home. Who is it? I
Bad
don't
teachers?
know. Me? It's bad teachers.
teachers?
All right. I win. My win. Great. So so the stakes for who wins is the person who wins gets the good mic again, which sucks because I have the good mic right now, and we started that. You picked this, Karis. It's your fault.
No, it's all right.
So that we might change that next week, but we'll see. It will probably be changed for Isaiah's sake. One of our mics is incredibly nice. The other mic is eh.
It's still really good. That one's just immaculate.
It's immaculate. I feel so official. So cool. Bad teachers. So I'll start off with you. Do you have any bad teacher stories that are really good?
Well, before we get into stories, I feel like there are a lot of good teachers.
Of course. That is a good thing to say.
I've had so many teachers. I mean, Emily is in school to become a teacher, and I mean, she I feel
Emily is my sister and his fiance.
Yes, I would want Emily, someone who is so passionate. I mean, she told me that she was 12 when she realized she knew she wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's some people who don't know that they want to be a doctor until their second semester in college.
Man, it's insanity. And I mean, the level of drive that she's shown is very beautiful. But unfortunately, we're not here to talk about that.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about the flip side of that. We're
And
here to
so-
talk about the bad teachers. So have you had any bad teachers? Do you have any specific stories? I've got a couple. If you don't, if you want me to give you a minute.
Why don't you go ahead and start? Because I hadn't really thought about this, but I'm sure.
Okay.
I went to Verina, man.
Oh my gosh. I imagine. No, I went to LC Bird High School. It was a nightmare.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Oh man. For all of those LC Bird alumni, I'm here with you, man. We struggled together. Or you loved it, and congrats. I just didn't. So for me, let me start with my background of school. So basically, I really had not a great high school experience. I just really didn't connect with a lot of people. Didn't really like where I was going. Thought that it was not important, I guess, until obviously now college, where I've been like, oh my gosh, education. So luckily now I've changed my perspective, but back then I didn't care, which is probably why I thought I had a lot of bad teachers, because I'm sure that half of these people aren't actually bad teachers.
Yeah.
I just made them bad teachers. So my teacher, which we've now scrubbed from the record upon realizing that we should probably not out these people on this podcast, we're going to call her Mrs. R. Mrs. R was an older lady. She was just didn't seem to like her job, which I'm sure is like 90% of the people who are bad teachers. It seems like they just don't enjoy their job.
Which is interesting, because I wonder, like, for like a bad teacher, and I'm sorry if I cut you off.
No, you're good, man.
Like, for like a bad teacher, I feel like they didn't like start off that way, because you like willingly, you don't like accidentally get a teaching.
No, that's something that you kind of commit to. But the thing is, I mean, I think a lot of teachers experience burnout.
Yeah.
A lot of teachers experience just slowly getting tired of what they're doing. But so the story with Mrs. R, she's pretty old, so I'm going to guess it was burnout. But basically, she would talk about 6 inches from my face about anything. And I'm talking like what
was wrong with her?
I don't know. This is something that has haunted me since 6th grade.
Why would you be that close?
Man, you tell me. I want to know. I want an answer. Like, genuinely, this close to my face at all times. If she was like, you know how like sometimes teachers will either grab you aside, talking about something. It's the worst.
So, so let's say she asked a question, and I don't know what subject she taught, but let's say
it was algebra.
Okay, so let's say she was like, what is the square circumference of a peach? And then you are going to answer that question.
Timothy Chalamet.
So
continue. Have you seen that movie?
No.
Okay, it's a gross reference. Cut
Okay.
that from the record.
I have no idea what's going on.
This might just be an episode of just us trying everything out before we're PC enough to.
Okay.
I'll tell you later.
Okay. So, let's say you ask a question, and like I would imagine she's standing in front of the class.
Yeah.
Like, how would she get, like, would she still like come over to you and
literally? So she would come over and be like, she'd be like you said, like, what's the square root of like pi or like whatever?
Yeah.
And somebody would raise their hand. They'd be like, yes, you. Scurries over, gets 6 inches away from their face, and is like, just staring at you. That dead space was me staring into the eyes of Isaiah.
That's kind of yeah.
Just staring, just looking, and you're just like, 36, and then she's like, no, that's not correct, and just walks away. She was one of the most awkward people I've ever encountered. And the thing is, and this is the straw that broke the camel's back for me that turned her. She was already an awkward teacher, which I was like, this is kind of hilarious. But then she started being like a little rude, a little bit less kind to people. And I was like, okay, you're just not that great. And the straw that broke the camel's back is, so she walks over to me and is talking to me for a minute, this close to my face. And I'm like, oh yeah, just writing down notes, vigorously trying not to look up. And so then she turns and she starts talking to the person right here. And you know how the teacher, you know the classic thing of like the teacher bends down and their butt is just straight in the student's face?
Oh, absolutely.
All the time, right? Happens
Yeah.
all the time. So this is not an uncommon thing. You just kind of deal with it. You know, you're mature enough. You move on. But she's bending over. She's talking to this kid. And I just hear something squeak out. And I just hear a little bit squeak out. And I'm like, no, she's an adult.
Well, that doesn't mean.
Sure, I know that now, but as a middle schooler, I was like, she's an adult. Adults don't do that.
Actually, the older you get, the harder it is to control it.
Exactly, and I'm sure, and that's why I kind of want to be easy on her, because like maybe it was like a issue with her age or something, but I'm not, because she farted in my face. so she's 6 inches away from me, and she farts, and I'm like, that's probably not what that was. There's no way. And I just hear her go, oh, oh no. and I'm like, that's exactly what just happened. Oh my gosh. is this real? And like, I'm pitching myself because I'm like, there is no possible way that this just happened. And I look at my friend who's like sitting like right next to me, and I'm like, you heard that, right? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, did she just, he's like, yeah. And I was like, and I just had to move on with my day. And I was like, this is officially the worst class I've ever been in my entire life.
So, Matt, you didn't like say, so she didn't.
I'm not going to say anything about it.
Why not?
Because I'm not going to be like, Miss R, did you just fart in the middle of the class? I'm in middle school, and she already hates me because I'm a horrible student. So, like, I'm not going to call attention to it, but I just had to, like, look down and kind of shove my face somewhere that's not in the direction of the wind. And it was just...
Well, I mean, maybe that's like the psycho in me that would have been like, hey, Miss R, what was that?
What was that?
Or like...
You've got bigger balls than I do.
Well, I mean, it's not...
I mean, but at that point, you're like this little middle schooler. You're sitting in the chair.
Well, you know,
you're part of this big collective, and you're not wanting to draw attention to yourself. I mean, you remember middle school. You wanted to be a fly on the wall. You don't want to like. You just want to like stay out of the eye of the people.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm not gonna want to be like, Miss R, can I have a word? Like, when clearly, like, my entire table has heard her do this. I'm not gonna be like, and they're gonna be like, he's going to talk about her fart.
Well, dude, I totally would have.
I mean, that's probably what should have been done. But I just, like, muscled down and moved. No, it was awful. It smelled terrible. It was the worst. So that's the tip of the iceberg. That's probably the most tame that I have.
So, I mean, that's not, I mean, like...
It's not the worst.
So, like, because, like... For like the like bad teacher, I feel like a bad teacher. That was just like funny, because like a bad teacher, someone who's like they just suck at their job.
Oh yeah, no, I have that too.
Oh, that she also.
Yeah, this was the tip of the iceberg. Oh, she was also bad at her job, but I also have another I have plenty of teachers that were just awful at their job.
So like, so social skills, she didn't have them.
Just didn't have them. I didn't know if she was just advanced in her age, which, like, looking back, I'm sure that might have been what it was. But, like, maybe she couldn't hear well. I don't know. All I know is she stood 6 inches away from people's faces and then farted in my face. And I was like, you're a terrible teacher. I'm sorry. There's no way that we can get around this. You're not good at what you do. She also gave me awful grades, but that might have been because it was earned. So in my eyes, she's not a good teacher.
I see.
So, yeah.
I see.
What do you got, man?
So I had a band teacher, and like there was a part of me that just like he was a really good guy, outside of that.
I know exactly what you're saying,
but he was a very interesting person. He would throw things at people.
What?
So you would be like playing songs, right?
Sure.
And then like if you messed up, he would like throw things at you.
Like what would he throw?
Various things like pencils.
Oh, I thought we were talking about like chairs or something.
One time he threw a timpani mallet, which I'm gonna put this in perspective. It's probably a solid I'd say solid 10 pounds.
Oh my gosh!
No, maybe not 10 pounds. Maybe like 6.
Was he fired?
No.
What? Wait, what?
Whiplash.
Oh my gosh, he is Whiplash. You can talk, Karis. Okay. We'll get you a little notepad so you can write down what you need to say.
No.
Yeah, that'll work.
He was a very... I mean, I think I'd say he was a good teacher in the sense that, he was effective, but, I mean, it was almost like drill sergeant.
You're literally describing the movie Whiplash. Word for word. Have you seen Whiplash?
I've never seen Whiplash.
It's literally about this. Your teacher was what is his name? J.K. Simmons? J.K. Simmons from Whiplash.
Yeah, he would just throw stuff at us. I think one time he mostly pins. And
what if it turns the wrong way and you stab a student?
I don't know, and I mean, I don't know. I just kind of wanted to throw it back.
That's fair.
How about you play this?
That's pretty fair. You're kind of doing this to yourself.
Because I'd be like, look, man, I'm 12. I don't have the dexterity in my digits quite yet to like move my fingers in this manner.
Sure.
So maybe I like fine motor skills. Maybe I'm untalented. You decide.
It's up to you, but don't throw things at me.
Yeah, and I just thought like, hey man, you know, maybe you should like do that. But like nobody ever like said anything. And
Did anybody ever report him or anything?
No, he would just throw stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he was good in the sense that like we would always we'd have like competitions and we used to like murder people. I mean,
Oh my gosh!
like
He's throwing things and murdering people.
like I think that like he just
Your
like
stager was the Unabomber.
like I don't know. I feel like discipline like really like helps to like push people to like do things that maybe they don't want to do.
Oh my gosh! So he pressured you into killing people?
No, well, no. When I say murder, I mean like we just like wipe the field.
Yeah, I get you. All these analogies are not helping, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. So we would just be like really effective.
Yeah.
As a team, and I feel like it really helped, but. I think that like I mean we're talking about him and I mean man I was like 12 and I'm 24 now.
Sure.
So like that was a very long time ago and I'm still talking about it. So like he
clearly stuck around.
It really stuck.
Yeah. That's insanity. So I mean I've had teachers throw things.
Yeah.
But never like at a student. And I mean usually it was like I had a theater teacher who would throw had a little monkey that he would pull back that had like a little
what?
So it was a monkey that had like, have you ever seen those monkeys that like you can put on your fingers and you pull it back and it's like a rubber band?
Like a slingshot monkey?
Yeah.
Never.
No?
No.
It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Anyways, you can get it like at the Dollar Tree or something. But yeah, he would pull back this monkey and throw it on stage if there was like dead air. So basically if we stopped the action of the scene, and if we kind of were either lagging or if we were not doing what we were supposed to, like as far as just leaving dead air, just not talking at that moment.
Wait. What kind of professor was he?
He was a theater teacher.
Theater. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So anytime that we were doing a scene and we would stop talking for any reason or we would forget our lines, he would throw the monkey onto the stage, and that was our cue to be like, start again. Which like. And I mean, that was done as like a thing to where you didn't have to be like, go and like be a douche. So it was kind of like a fun thing, but never something like thrown at students.
So like, all right. So like when you like sling the monkey, I guess like
which sounds like a horrible.
Yeah. Okay. It would plop down onto the stage, but like like what if you like didn't see it?
I mean, then he probably yelled at us. I guess it's been a long time, but I think that. Usually you saw the monkey. I mean, if you're just like in a scene with somebody and you see something flying to you from the crowd, it's pretty noticeable.
Dude, I feel like, because like, okay, I made a lot of mistakes. And so I feel like if I was like, I don't know, like I messed up my line, like I stuttered, I feel like I'd be expecting a monkey.
You'd be scared of the monkey? Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
And I'd be like, it's gonna come.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because I'd be like, and I'd be like, oh god, here comes the monkey. And then you just see it fly from like the back of the stands onto the stage, and you'd be like, yep, there it is. And then he'd be like, all right, from the top then.
It's terrifying.
He was really funny though. He was one of my favorite teachers. I loved him as a teacher. That was back in middle school. But yeah, I did have a teacher, however, tie somebody up to a chair.
What?
Yeah.
That's not.
Nope. He was fired.
Oh my gosh.
So there was this kid, and mind you, the kid was the worst. I will say that outright. We'll call him Jason.
What made him the worst? Because that might justify him being tied to a chair.
So it was, from our eyes, it's pretty justified. But from a teacher's eyes, you can't tie someone to a chair. That's pretty much illegal anywhere that you go as far as teaching. I'm sure not illegal, just probably frowned upon and probably will get you fired. Yeah. But yeah, so this Jason kid would be cursing in class, he'd be acting out, he'd be doing all this stuff. And then if the teacher would interlude, he'd start yelling at the teacher. And everybody was like, come on, man. Like, you already suck. Don't suck more. So, because of that, he would just get super pissed off at him. He'd just go bananas. Like, this guy clearly had anger issues or something, and he would start screaming at this kid. Yeah. And the kid would start screaming back. And, like, it would just da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It would go on and on and on and on. And then finally one day, like halfway through the school year, he grabs this kid and he's like, you have to sit down. And he's like, I don't have to sit down. You're not my dad. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, oh my gosh, come on, dude. We're in 6th grade. Let's just get out of here.
Yeah.
And so he goes, you're going to sit down, and you're going to sit down now. And he grabs him, plants him in the chair, and grabs a thing of duct tape. And he's like, if you get up right now, I swear I'm going to bring you to the office. And so the kid's like, ugh, and he sits there. And so he brings over duct tape, and he duct tapes his arms and his legs to the arms and legs of the chair.
No.
And he's sitting here like this. You can't tell where I'm sitting, audio, but he's sitting like he's in an armchair with his, like, almost like he's cuffed.
Now, okay. I've never been handcuffed or like I've never been tied to a chair.
Okay.
Like, I feel like if you were going to like come over and tie me to a chair, like, I don't think you would be able to do it. Like, how did they do that? Did he have help?
No, he just threatened him, and he was like, hey, you can't do this. And he was like, you're going to stay. He just like yelled at him to where he like submitted. So yeah, he just kind of submitted and let it happen. Which I was like, holy frick, weak. Come on, Jason.
Yeah.
Fight back. Well, eventually he did, because he sat there duct taped for a minute, and he was going to put duct tape on his mouth. And I was like, that's a big no-no. You can't do that.
Was this
And this was a teacher. We'll call him Mr. M. So Mr. M was duct taping Jason, and he was like, and I'm going to duct tape your mouth next. And everybody was like, holy frick, that's not okay. So Jason like bursts out of the chair like the Incredible Hulk and is like, I'm calling my mom. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's going to get arrested. And so, cause like I'm watching this happen and I'm like, I mean, even as a middle schooler, I'm like, clearly this is not okay.
Yeah.
You can't do this to someone. Someone has to intervene. So he goes and grabs, the kid like walks out of the class and grabs the principal, brings him back. They have a long conversation out in the hall. Obviously, not much work was done that day.
Yeah.
And so they're talking in the middle, and then Jason calls his mom, and I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna go down. Because if Jason's acting like that, you know what I mean? Imagine his mom.
Yeah.
Like, and so she comes in, and we're all watching this, and we're like, at this point, this is hilarious. Because, like, this guy clearly is getting his comeuppance of just getting yelled at. Because, obviously, he's being a garbage human. You can't duct tape people to chairs. That's not okay. So starts, like, berating. Like, he's berating this kid, and then a mom walks around the corner, and he stops.
Yeah.
And his mom is like, whoa, and just erupts.
So did she hear?
Yeah, she heard him from around the corner.
Okay.
And just erupts. And we're watching this from the door's a little cracked and we can see him through the window. And we're like, oh my God. And so she's just going crazy at this teacher. And I'm like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Because this teacher's just like head down, like head tilted, like, I really screwed the pooch here. I don't like. And so the principal eventually is like, we're going to have a substitute teacher for the rest of the year. The guy got fired on the spot, and they had to bring in a new sub. I'm sorry, he might have not gotten fired on the spot. He might have been fired later, but regardless, he got fired. And the kid was like suspended for being the worst. So yeah, that's probably the worst teacher experience I've ever had. Yeah, he just straight up duct taped him to a chair.
I don't really have a lot of words, man. I mean, so, like, why would he, like, or like, I understand why, but like, no.
No, absolutely. Like, you should have enough common sense not to tie someone to anything.
Like, there's just other like measures in place for that. Was this at a public school, private?
Yep. Public school.
Oh my god.
This was at, I'll say the school because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
I can say the school. It was
yes.
Carver Middle School. For all of those who went to Carver Middle School around the age that I am,
sure
which
there's
you will
probably
not know.
1,000 Carver Middle Schools, right?
There might be.
At least
Oh yeah, y'all don't know where I'm from. That's gonna stay that way. I got the palm up stop from my producer. It said not to give away my address. So, yeah, it was called Carver Middle School. I went there for middle school, obviously, and this was one of the teachers that I dealt with in 6th grade. It was crazy.
Dude, that actually reminds me. I remember I had I keep saying professor, teacher, and he was good in a bad way.
Okay.
So he wanted us to be like I feel like he was teaching us as if we were like adults, and we weren't. We were 9.
Oh wow.
Like, so he wanted us to increase our vocabulary.
Sure.
And I don't know if you guys ever had like, I don't know, like vocabulary quizzes at like once a week or something like that. We'd have vocabulary quizzes once a week. And I'd say probably like the first month you had like normal words, like maybe like trespassing or like loitering.
Which that's a pretty big word for a 9-year-old.
Yeah, yeah. Or like vandalizing. I don't know why I keep saying crime words.
That's pretty sus, man. I'm going to be honest.
Well, they're just big words. Anyways, he would have us do like, so it started off like normal words that you would hear in your daily life.
Sure.
But then it started getting to words that you like never heard. He was kind of weird, and so one week, every week it'd be a different kind of like group of vocabulary words, and this week was phobias.
Uh-oh. How in the world would a 9-year-old know phobias?
We had to spell triskaidekaphobia.
What?
Do you know what that is?
No.
It's fear of the number 13.
Why does a 9-year-old need to know that?
I don't know, but I know it. Triskaidekaphobia.
Go off, man!
Triskaidekaphobia.
English teachers out there, fact check us. Did he get it right?
And
because I don't know how to spell that.
He'd give us the definition, like he'd be like, agoraphobia is this, claustrophobia is this, triskaidekaphobia is this, and like, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I think that it worked, but at the same time, like, now I have a fear of spelling big words.
Now I'm afraid of being afraid.
Yeah. Like he was definitely like kind of like a bad teacher, but just in like a good way. Like like if you ever told them that you needed to go to like the clinic because you weren't feeling good, he'd like, you know, you come and be like, hey, Mr. F, it'd be like, you know, my head's hurting, and then he'd be like, is your face hurting? And then you'd be like, no, it's not, and he'd be like, because it's hurting me.
What a jerk! Yeah, I'm sick,
and then like I'd sit there and look at him, and then he'd look at me, and I look at him, and I'm like, so is that a yes? like, can I go to the clinic, man?
I don't have an answer yet.
And like, he would always so like we had like little like name tags on the board.
Sure.
And if you like so you'd start at like a neutral spot, and if you did some good, you'd move up. If you did some bad, you'd move down. Like I think like, let's say like you pushed a kid, you might go to a warning. Let's say like you threw a chalkboard piece of chalk, then you'd go down to like I don't know, parent something. Then the last one might be like, you know, sit out or something. Like it would get progressively lower.
It's like a tiered thing.
Yeah, and so like your name tag would be there, and if you did good, you'd move it up. Do bad, you move it down. Whenever you would like move the thing for like a bad thing, he had a Bluetooth speaker, and I at this time, it's probably 2007. He probably had like, I think like an iPod Touch, and he had that one song that goes like, I like to move it. Move it like the I like to move it.
Sure.
And so like he'd play it whenever you get in trouble, because like you're moving your thing. So like whenever you did it, the entire class would know that you did something messed up, and he'd be like, "Here we go," and then he'd play the song.
He's a sadist.
Yeah. No.
He's a sadist.
I mean, it was kind of funny.
I mean, that's pretty fantastic.
Like being there and hearing that, and they'd be like, that's funny. But like the kid probably was like, man, I messed up. But then, that's positive reinforcement.
Sure, but I think
I mean positive punishment.
Yeah. I feel like you're putting in every time I hear I like to move it now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, oh no, like immediate shame or something. Like you're putting in habits that will last the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, you're 9.
Yeah. Going 110. But yeah, I mean that really kind of sucked. It was kind of funny, and like thinking back on it now, like it's funny. And like I saw him like 5 years after I like left that school, and I was like, hey, you're that guy, and he's like, you're that guy too. And fun fact, he actually named his son after me.
What?
He was like, cause I was like his best student, and he was like, you are like he was like, I just feel like I would just want like my son to be like you. Like, so like, although like I had like, I mean like,
oh my god,
although he had a bad relationship with everybody else, like I was
the
like,
one.
Yeah, I was his savior.
His saving grace.
Yeah.
Holy crap. I mean, so your bad teacher.
Yeah.
Named his son after you.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like too bad of a teacher.
Well, yeah, no, so he was bad to like people who sucked. So probably like 3 people. Like everyone else is like your average person doesn't throw things.
Yeah.
And so, it really like would, I mean, I probably if I was him, I would have done it. And I remember like he was really awesome. He would have like our chairs in like a circle, or I guess our desk in a circle, and he'd be in the center, and he was like talking to us like adults. And I like,
oh wow,
I feel like he was a very like just relaxed, chill guy.
Sounds respectful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he actually like won like a bunch of like awards of being like a good teacher and stuff.
Oh wow.
So like I feel like he was like definitely like effective, and I feel like he never did anything in like a mean way.
Just his methods were weird.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's fair. I had I think that the most similar that I can do with that is that I had an English teacher that basically my sister had him a year before, Bethany.
Yeah.
And so we were touring the school. This was my freshman year. I'll never forget it. My freshman year, we're touring the school. My sister is bringing me around because she's I think she's a junior at that point, maybe a sophomore. I can't remember. But she's had this guy in before, and she was like, oh, you have, we'll call him Mr. W. How are we looking on time, producer? What time are we at? 38? Okay. We'll probably wrap up at 45. So basically, strike that from the record. And so we'll call him Mr. W. He was this teacher that basically my sister had him. He was a writing teacher.
Yeah.
And my sister was touring me around the school, and she was like, oh, you have Mr. W? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh, I've had Mr. W. And I was like, is he good? And she was like, let's go meet him. And so my sister was pretty cool. Mind you, all of my teachers loved my sisters.
Yeah.
They did not love me. I did not do the work, and I did not care. My sisters were A+ students. Maybe not Bethany, but more so Emily.
Yeah.
And more than that, they were just kind of nice, good people. Yeah. I mean, you know them. They were very kind and very cordial and very respectful to these teachers. I was less so. So they loved these guys. And so anytime that I would have a teacher that my sisters had, they would love them. And they would be like, man, I remember very, very vividly, I had a biology teacher that, no joke, verbatim, turned to me and was like, why can't you be more like your sisters? And I was like, I don't have an answer. I'm not them. So yeah, that was the worst. But so mind you, all of my teachers have loved my sisters, except this guy. This guy hated Bethany.
What?
I don't to this day know why. I'm sure I could ask her today. I don't really remember his name, which is why he's Mr. W. But I'm sure I could ask her like this grade, who was the teacher. And he just was not a fan of Bethany. Maybe that was just she had a bad year or something. I don't know. But so she's escorting me over to this class, and we're talking about this teacher. And I'm like, oh, how is he? Like, how's his grading stuff? Da 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 da. We're having small talk. We get to the class. We arrive. The guy's standing outside the class, and she goes, Mr. W, this is my brother. You're going to have him this year. And he looks me dead in the eyes, looks dead in the eyes of Bethany, and looks back and goes, guess we're spreading the dirt around. Get on in there. That's how I started my freshman year of high school.
What?
At Lloyd Seabird High School.
What?
And I just walk in there, and I'm like, I'm just screwed. I'm screwed.
Dude.
This is the worst. And I actually had one of my close friends, which I'll call him out on the pod, Braden. Shout out to Braden. Karis knows Braden. Karis is our producer. As a reminder. So Braden was in this class with me as well. And Braden would constantly be being picked on. Yeah. And the teacher would just somehow never see it. And so I would go up and defend Braden because that was kind of my thing because he would get picked on by these other guys.
Yeah.
And the guys he was being picked on, no offense to them, were kind of nerds. So he was being picked on by the nerds. And I was like, you need to fight back. They're not going to buck back. So I would fight back for him. And so I remember very vividly that this guy, this douche, this really nerdy douche, sat down in one of Braden's chairs that was clearly his. It was we had the computers in the back of the class. He sat down at his computer.
Was this high school?
Yes.
That's the first rule of high school, man. You don't sit in anybody else's chair.
That's the first rule. Man, I got suspended for that. I'm gonna tell that story in a minute. Not for this thing. This is something else, but I'll just tell that story in a minute. So he sits down in this chair, and Braden's like, "Get out of my chair, man." And he's like, "No, I think I'm gonna stay here now," and like laughs with his friends. And I'm like, "You're just the worst."
Yeah.
And so I'm like, "Hey, man, get out of his chair." And he's like, "What are you gonna get me out of the chair?" And I was like, "Absolutely, I'm gonna get you out of the chair." So I pick up the chair out from under him, and he falls on the floor. And he jumps back up and grabs the chair and starts pulling on it. And I'm like, "What are we, 5?" And so he's pulling on this chair. And so Mr. W walks over and he's like, "Hobbs, whatever your name is, what are you doing?" And I was like, "He stole his chair." And he's like, "Really? He stole his chair. Get out in the hall." I was like, "Are you insane?
What?
Are you crazy?" So we get out in the hall. Mind you, me and Mr. W are not friends. We get out in the hall. He talks to other guy. I have no idea what happens. He walks back in. And he's like, being douchey. Like, passes me by, gives me a dirty look. I get escorted out of the hall. Mr. W's like, "I don't ever want to see anything like that in my classroom again." And I was like, "Mr. W, I was defending Braden." And he was like, "I don't care. I don't ever want to see anything like that again." And it wasn't like, you know how most of the time teachers would be like, "You grab me if something happens." Nothing like that. It was just like, "I don't care. Don't do it again." So no defense to Braden. No nothing. And I was like, really? Yeah, one of the worst teachers that I've ever had. I hated that guy. He had cool comics though, so that was just one redeeming quality. we would be allowed to read his comics at SSR, which was pretty cool. But other than that, he was the worst.
Was it Marvel or DC?
It was both. He also had TMNT comics, like classic TMNT comics, that like first edition. And I was like, if you weren't such a douche, we would talk about it.
Could he ever? He's probably not truly a bad teacher then, right?
No, he was actually the worst. That was one of the first thing he said to me was, "All right, let's spread the dirt around." But he called me dirt. But was I dirt? Yes. No. At the time.
Oh.
Yeah, at the time I was a terrible student.
Yeah, I feel like I've never been called a name by like a professor.
A professor called me an a-hole once.
Really?
Yeah.
Honestly?
Yes.
What do you have to do to do that, man?
I was being pretty crappy. It was earned.
What'd you do?
So this teacher, mind you, I'm not gonna even give her a name because she wasn't a bad teacher. She was actually a really good teacher. I was just the worst. This cool kid who I thought was cool. We'll go for like an hour. Who cares? Why not? What do you think? Hour?
Is that okay with you, man? Okay.
I mean, we can do another one after this. Yeah, we'll get water after and reset for a minute.
Okay.
Do you want to do 2 tonight? No, like 2 podcasts tonight.
Oh wait. I mean that's fine.
Maybe. Okay. Are you sure?
Like
record 2? Are you down?
Sure, I'm down.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Our producer is stepping away. We can still talk. I mean, is our audio fine? Oh, I would love some water. Yes, please.
Oh, no, thank you.
You should get water.
Do I sound like I need water?
No.
Oh.
But you should. You got to keep them pipes
I think
clean.
I'm fine.
All right,
I just
man.
lubricate the.
Oh, gosh. Stick that in, Karis, later. But no, so I was being the worst. Oh, yeah. Start and now. So I was being the worst. You okay? What happened?
I don't know. It was just so funny.
Okay, let's run that back. Okay, this is how we know like the audio cues. This helps him editing. Like
Yeah.
he knows the audio cues of what to cut out. But Karis, don't cut out that last part. Just like snippet it in, I guess. And 3, 2, 1, go. So the teacher, I'm not even gonna give her a name or anything. She'll just be anonymous because I was the worst. So she doesn't deserve the modicum of a bad teacher. But basically, one of the kids that I thought was a cool kid or whatever
Yeah.
had walked out of the class because she had sent him out into the hall because he was being the worst. And I was like, man, that guy's so cool. I want to be sent in the hall. The hall's a cool place for the cool kids because you're in middle school.
Yeah.
You do anything to be cool. So I put my head down and put my hood up, which like that's the 2 cardinal rules of not what to do when you're in middle school.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest pet peeve for this teacher. And she was like, Mr. Hobbs, you're falling asleep in my class. And I was like, ugh. And I put my head back down. And she was like, that's strike 1. Mr. Hobbs, I asked you to bring your head up. And I was like, I'm tired. Mind you, I'm being the worst.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's strike 2. Mr. Hobbs, I'm not going to ask you again. And I was like, what is wrong? And she was like, strike 3. Quit being an a-hole. And I was like, holy crap. I had never in my life. Mind you, I'm coming. So during this time, I was having a bit of a tumultuous time. We don't need to go into it, but it was middle school. It was a hard time for everybody. Had some other stuff going on. So I was looking for attention, basically.
Now, if I understand correctly, you also you were homeschooled, right?
Yeah. So I was coming from a homeschool background to being thrown into middle school, and I was not dealing with it very well.
Like the first time you were ever in public school was it 6th grade?
6th grade, yeah. Which, I mean, that's throwing somebody into the lion's den.
Yeah.
Any homeschool parents who are listening to this, don't do that. That's the worst thing you can do for your kids. And for my mom, it was a specific circumstance. I don't blame her for anything. That hatchet has been buried, but yeah, I mean, it was rough. So I was dealing with that. I was grappling with it, with how to be cool, with how to present myself, with who I was in the modicum of public school and of people that were also my age. So, mind you, I'm dealing with all this. It's super difficult, and I'm just being the worst. And she calls me an a-hole, and my entire class erupts into laughter, and it's like that hot sweat laughter because I'm like, they're laughing at me. They're straight up laughing at me, and so I'm like, I try to turn it into a joke, like, oh, she called me an a-hole. Oh, guys, did you hear she called me an a-hole? And the guy, like, my friend is like, we heard you the first time. Yeah. You're an a-hole. And so the teacher's like, go out in the hall. And I was like, okay. And I went out there with like the cool kid, and I didn't even say a word to him. Nothing was said, and nothing came of it.
But, because, dude, you just can't call a kid that, man.
Sure, but I mean, at the point that I was at, I had earned it, you know?
You could have said something like insubordinate. Like you're being insubordinate. Like,
yeah.
Or like you're being bad, you're being like, it just uncooperative. Something like that. Like, you don't have to get into like
Curse words.
Yeah. Speaking of curse words.
Uh-oh. What you got?
I don't know if you want to call this a bad professor.
Okay.
Or a funny professor. And, just to keep things clean, I won't actually say anything that he said.
Sure.
But.
Oh, yeah. As a quick just interjection, this is going to be a clean podcast. You should never experience any sort of expletives or anything. This is family friendly. We are family friendly people. We are good Christian guys. Continue, Isaiah.
Absolutely. I feel like you can really express yourself
without using that kind of language.
Without using that kind of language. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you called me, like, the B word, like I'd be like, okay, yeah, sure. But like if you called me an insignificant particle of a half-life, that might
I'm gonna be destroyed for the next 3 days.
I won't be able to breathe for a couple of days. But no, this guy, my professor, last semester,
This was last semester. This was recent.
like a couple weeks ago.
Oh wow.
This guy didn't care. He didn't care about anything.
Oh no.
I mean, this guy would drop F-bombs.
Oh my gosh.
He would drop A-bombs, B-bombs, C-bombs.
Oh my gosh.
You know,
Like
anything.
the big C bomb.
The big one.
Oh my gosh.
The biggest.
The biggest.
Literally, anything that you could possibly think of, he'd say it.
Wow.
He would say it. And I mean, he was just so wild. I mean, like, I'm just trying to think of something. Like, I think that like one time he was saying, he's also he's a psychologist. But he was like, you know, if you just look at me, he'd be like, this guy's probably not a doctor. And he'd be like,
You're right.
he said that, and he was like, "They're kind of true. It's kind of true," because he's like, "I don't really look like a doctor," but he was like, "F anybody who says that." And then
Oh my
like,
gosh.
you're just like, "What did you just say?"
What was that? Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, he would literally like curse all the time, and I don't know. I think it like takes the professionality out of it.
Absolutely.
I'm not even sure if that's a word, but
It is.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome,
you're
great. He would just like do that and like cuss, and we're supposed to wear masks and stuff. He wouldn't wear it. Like he just
goodness.
kind of thought he was like I don't know. Like I feel like he was like really nice, but like you know he would just do whatever he wanted to do, and it kind of like honestly, I mean, I will say like it did kind of make him feel like approachable, like
Personable.
yeah, like cause like his favorite thing to say would like if I think that he'd be like if the dean came in right now, I would not put my mask on if he told me to. And he said, "I don't give a F." And he said it just like
Oh my gosh.
that was his favorite thing to say.
Holy crap.
It was
Was this an online class or was this in person?
in person.
Oh my gosh.
He was very vulgar.
Yeah.
But you know, I just thought you could have like, and I mean, if you want to like curse, then you can do it. But like, I feel like just in that setting, like, I feel like it just wasn't called for, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's your classroom. You're supposed to have a degree of professionalism.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. But how are we looking on time? How much time we got? 53? Okay.
So about 7 minutes left.
About 7 minutes.
All right.
We'll start to wrap up, and I'm going to tell one more story, and then we'll start to wrap up. Is that cool?
All right.
All right. And 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I'm pausing it for a second.
Okay.
I'll give you markers. I'll be like,
Perfect.
That way it doesn't sound like, are we done yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to make it sound like that. No, but you're going to cut that off.
I'll never bring in time ever. I'll
Okay.
just give you markers.
Okay.
Only bring it if we're going crazy.
Yeah, just be like,
Yeah. All right.
like a marker is in like if you're going to mark it if we're done.
No. I'll just be like for 10, 20,
Oh, okay.
30.
It'll be awesome if maybe we could like have like
A timer.
a timer, or like maybe of course maybe like turn the volumes down, but we can like have our phones like in front of us and like be like, okay, we're gonna start at like 8 o'clock, so then like we can be like checking it ourselves, and we know, let's say we're gonna do it for 20 minutes.
It's probably a really good idea.
Right, so no.
I don't think we need it if we're going to do this because, I mean, that's probably a better idea in the first place.
I guess. But I feel like you could be more in the conversation.
That's true. That's true.
only-
Yeah, a little more like we could be a little more
Yeah,
engaged.
That doesn't sound like you're trying to get to a time limit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that the time limit has stopped you guys.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
What about like a
Yo, that is the grossest sparkling water I've ever had.
is it grapefruit?
Yes.
Ugh, it sounds awful.
Called Spindrift.
Huh.
It's the worst thing I've ever had in my life.
Sounds terrible.
I went to grab a sparkling water and accidentally grabbed a wine. And I was like, oh god! Like, I was like, am I drinking wine on a Monday night?
Oh, no.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
So, what were we talking about before? You're going to cut this out.
I don't know.
Okay. I'm going to tell my next story. Okay. That'll just be our transition. And 3, 2, 1.
Somebody claps.
I know. I'm sorry. This is going to be horrible to edit. So I'll tell one more story, and I think then we'll start to wrap it up. So my last story, and this was not a bad teacher. This was just more of a bad school experience. I don't know if it goes under the criteria, but I mentioned it earlier, so I feel like I have to tell the story. I've been suspended from school once. I got in all kinds of fights when I was in middle school. Never got caught. This is the one thing that I got caught for, which is incredible because it's so lame. So mind you, this was 7th grade. I got in a lot of fights. A lot of people didn't frick with me because I was very aggressive and would fight them over nothing. So basically what would happen is they would approach, they would say something crappy, I would say something crappy back, and then things would ensue. So this time, how this went is one of the people that I considered a friend. What's up?
Oh, do I know this story?
You might. I feel like I might have told you this before.
You might have told me.
Okay.
But
So basically what happened was I was going into the lunchroom, and this has to do again with assigned seating almost. So in middle school, the lunch tables, you always have that specific place that you sit every single time.
yeah.
It never changes. You always sit the same place every single time. So I go over, and this kid's being a douche. He's sitting in my seat. It's clearly my seat. This is nothing new. This is something that we've been over so many times. We do this every single day, right?
Yeah.
So this kid's sitting in my seat. I walk over, and I'm like, get out of my seat. And I'm already having a bad day. I have no idea why. I just remember it being a bad day. So I go over to him, and I'm like, get out of my chair. And he's like, no. And I'm like, get out of my chair. He's like, no. I'm like, get out of my chair.
Yeah.
He's like, no. So I grab him by his shoulders. I'm behind him. I grab him by his shoulders and knee him as hard as I can in the back, and then toss him to the side.
Oh my gosh.
And I just sit down. And mind you, he's on the ground, clutching his back.
Dude.
And he's got this big raspberry on his back. It's about this big, which I think is pretty hilarious to this day. I think that's pretty funny because he was being a douche, and he'd been a douche for the entirety of the semester. None of us knew why he sat at our table. He just kind of did. He was just.
Who was he?
I'm not gonna say his name.
Okay. Oh yeah. But
he was just a kid that we all kind of knew. He sat there because I think he was friends with one of the guys at our table, but he definitely wasn't friends with all of us. So he was kind of just the worst to all of us. Like I previously stated, the criteria for the worst at this point. He was belligerent. He was annoying. All of the above. So he goes and tells my principal, and I'm like, come on, man, are you serious? You're gonna snitch? And so I get called to the principal's office, and at this point, I don't know. I know I'm getting suspended because it's either for a fight that I had that somebody had told him about, or it's for acting out of class, something. So I'm like, who snitched? Who was it? It just all depends on who it was.
Yeah.
And so I walk in, and mind you, I had so as context, there was this little guy that I fought once, and this was during this week that this happened, that we met back in the back of Carver, right before the bus was supposed to leave. Or it might have been a little before, I'm not sure. But regardless, we had said meet me back here, you know how you do. So we went back there, and he's like, all right, let's fight. And I was a pretty big kid. I'm a pretty big guy now. I was decently big back then. I was muscular because I was your testosterone, you're hitting that puberty, you've got the early muscles, you know what I'm saying? So I pick up this kid and throw him against a dumpster. Like one of those big metal dumpsters. I grab him by his shirt and by his pants leg, and I just toss him.
That's not easy.
No. But I kind of swung him. So it was kind of like a wha-boom. And then he fell on the ground. He was like, oh! And I was like, do you still want to fight? And he was like, ah! And ran off. So I was like, it's got to be for that. I threw a guy into a dumpster. It's pretty metal. And so I go in there, and he's like, it says here you need, we'll call him Jace. It's like he pulls up this, he's got the clipboard. Every principal's got the clipboard. He pulls up the clipboard, and he's like, says here you need Jace here in the back. And I was like, I'm here for the back kneeing? That's so lame. He snitched? The other kid should have snitched. He's probably got broken bones. And so I'm like, this is so lame. And so he's like, you need, and I'm at this point, like, clearly, like, a little elated because I'm like, at least it's not anything crazy that they're going to press charges against me or anything.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm a little disappointed too. So I'm like, oh, yeah. And he's like, why did you do that? And I was like, he was sitting in my spot. And he's like, what? And he was like, he was sitting in my spot. And he's like, and you need him? And I was like, yeah. He wouldn't move. And he's like, I'm going to suspend you. And I was like, okay. And I got suspended for 3 days. So yeah, that was one of the lamest stories. And that's the only time that I got in trouble. Other than, like, I mean, I got like lunch detention or something probably. But that was the main thing.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like, because I feel like, you know, like, because it sucks how, like, you did so many, like, other things and, you know, you were suspended. Was this the only time? This was the only time you were ever suspended?
Yeah. Mind you, after 7th grade, I stopped being violent. I had made enough of a name for myself to where I didn't have to beat people up on a regular basis. People kind of just left me alone. And so from then until high school, I was pretty docile. I was still pretty aggressive. You can ask Karis. I was still pretty aggressive. I just wasn't, like, fighting people on a regular basis. So, yeah, that's the only time I really got in any trouble, like any serious trouble in school, which I'm like, that's so lame. And my mom laughed at me. She was like, you need a kid in the back? And I was like, yeah, he was sitting in my spot. She was like, why did you need a kid in the back? And I was like, you're sitting in my spot. No one seemed to understand. But yeah, man, I mean, I think that's all the time that we've got, but thank you so much for joining us, man. I hope that you guys enjoyed this conversation. Isaiah, do you want to lead us out of here?
Yeah, that was a awesome first time. First episode, just getting a feel for it and just getting a feel for each other and just the flow of how we're going to go. Because, I mean, you know, we're literally just talking.
Yep.
And, I mean, there's no structure. I mean, because, like, I didn't know what we were, like, talking about today. So I didn't really, like, think about anything. But as we talked, I thought about more things. And so I thought it was really cool to see how it was going to go. So I just want to say thank you to our producer, Karis, for helping us out. And thank you, Matt, for just for the idea and for allowing me to come on here, man.
Hey, thank you, man. All right, guys, that's going to be it for us this week. We will see you guys next week, hopefully, for another podcast. If you like what you're doing, follow us on any platform that you see this on, and let us know what you'd like to hear us talk about. All right, y'all. It's been good talking to you. Isaiah, I'll see you next week.
See you next week, Brad. It felt right to say.